but increasingly an unsettled one, with spells of rain moving north across the country. The most persistent wet weather overnight, northern England into Scotland and Northern Ireland, although even here there'll be some drier interludes. Further south, eventually turning drier, some clear spells, but with a lot of cloud and that breeze, it is going to be a mild start to Saturday. Certainly a frost-free start, a marked contrast compared with the sunny but chilly mornings of the week so far. Now, we do start with plenty of dry weather across England and Wales, although showers couldn't be ruled out just about anywhere. I think West Wales, North West England seeing some sunshine early on. Otherwise, a lot of cloud blankets the UK. And we've got two areas of rain moving north, one affecting western Scotland and western parts of Northern Ireland, another one affecting eastern parts of Scotland, in between some showers. And really, it's a slow-moving situation as we go through the day. I think that for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we'll see further spells of rain or showers, the wettest weather likely for western Scotland, the far north and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, skies do brighten into the afternoon. There'll be some sunshine. Some places will get away with a dry afternoon, but there'll also be these slow-moving heavy downpours, particularly across central parts of the UK. Where we do get sunshine, 17, 18 Celsius possible, so still some warmth, but it is turning cooler gradually through the weekend. And after a gloomy start to Sunday with some mistiness around eastern coasts, it's going to be another day of sunny spells and some spells of rain or showers. The showers heaviest towards southern parts of England. And we keep the showers going into next week, but it's going to turn drier for many.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Friday night, I'm Patrick Christys, and there's been a disaster. I was so excited to be sunny skies. And it was my daughter who phoned this morning at 6:10 to say, "Mummy, there's a fire at Heathrow."
Has Putin attacked Britain? A massive explosion. Cheers. Closed Heathrow, but is the problem actually net zero lunacy? And
so while you work, I'm gonna need your help.
Let's go! Trigger warnings on the new Snow White film. Should it really be called Snowflake? Also,
Jamie, if you do not sit... Look out! I want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down!
would you back a social media ban for kids? Plus,
they're having to learn to get by on less.
How are we supposed to live on £50 a week?
And rely on each other more.
where are you on the great big benefits cut debate? And
okay. What I need you to do is follow my instructions very carefully. Okay. Good.
Mohammed Farouk jailed for life for trying to blow up a hospital in Leeds. But this was the highlight of my week.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
But let's go and meet the real stars of the show. It's my live studio audience. Play those titles. Thank you. Come on, and you as well. You as well. All right, everybody. Brilliant stuff. Hello. Brilliant. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful Friday night show that we have got here. Thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to come. We've got a wonderful panel, as always, of course. It is the Labour MP for Brent West, is Barry Gardner. We've got former Tory London mayoral candidate and notorious hater of Sadiq Khan, is Susan Hall. We've got the absolute legend, journalist and broadcaster JJ Alisobi. Yeah. And the man, the myth, the legend, it is Christo Fufas. Well, as you've just been hearing, we have got a whole host of top topics for you tonight. I don't know about you, it just kind of made me want to go down the pub a little. And Adam Brooks is going to be joining us a little bit later on. Fan favourite. Will he have Big Marcus with him? Will he have Big Marcus with him, though, everybody? That's the question. We want Big Marcus, don't we? Well, look, it's all to play for tonight, so I will be right back with you after we have heard the latest headlines from Sophia.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening. These are your headlines from the GB newsroom. It's just gone 9 o'clock. Heathrow Airport has restarted some flights tonight and it hopes to run a full service tomorrow, while restrictions on overnight flights have been temporarily lifted to help ease congestion. It's after a fire at a nearby electrical substation forced Europe's busiest airport into shutdown. More than 1,300 flights have been cancelled or diverted, affecting over 200,000 passengers and leaving planes and crews in the wrong locations. Counter-terrorism police are now leading an investigation into the blaze, though they say there's no indication of foul play. The London Fire Brigade has now said the fire is believed to be non-suspicious. Speaking earlier, the Heathrow Airport CEO apologised for the shutdown.
First of all, what I'd like to do is to apologise to the many people who have had their travel affected during the day-to-day. We are very sorry about all the inconvenience. I hope people appreciate that we do not close down the airport unless we have severe safety concerns. That's why we do it, and that's what has happened today. We've been working tirelessly to get the operation back into running, and that's what's now happening.
To the US now, where Donald Trump has said Russia is only fearful of NATO with the US as a member. In a news conference from the Oval Office today, the US president claimed NATO was gone until I came along. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump said he thinks there will be a full ceasefire and that will take place pretty soon between Ukraine and Russia. It comes as the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has today told non-EU countries and EU chiefs it was clear Vladimir Putin was trying to delay a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. In other news, 3 teenage boys have been charged with rape of a girl under the age of 16. The incident happened on the 10th of February last year in Rochdale. That's according to Greater Manchester Police. The force said each of the boys, aged 13, 14 and 15, have been charged with 1 count of rape of a female under the age of 16. Now, a man who took a bomb into a Leeds hospital intending to kill as many nurses as possible has been jailed for life. Mohammed Farouk has been jailed at Sheffield Crown Court for a minimum term of 37 years. Farouk, who was a trainee nurse, was last year found guilty of attempting to launch an ISIS-inspired suicide attack using a homemade bomb on the St James's Hospital, where he worked in 2023. And more than 5,000 migrants have arrived in the UK after crossing the English Channel so far this year, according to the latest figures. Some 341 people made the journey in 6 small boats yesterday, bringing the total for this year so far to 5,025. This is the earliest point in the year that crossings have reached the 5,000 mark since data on Channel crossings was first reported in 2018. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Wow. Happy Friday night, everybody. Happy Friday night. Thank you very much to all of my wonderful studio audience and my top panel. But here we go, OK? We've had 5,000 illegal immigrants come across the Channel so far this year. That's a record, yes. I mean, has anyone got £10 on them? Anyone want £10? Maybe we should just set fire to it, shall we? Good grief. It's costing us billions of pounds every single year. The number of asylum cases on appeal is up 500%, by the way. These are the people who are just appealing now. But at least we'll finally deport them, right? Wrong, because a Nigerian con man who duped women out of almost £200,000 in romance frauds has avoided deportation. Does anyone know why? Any guesses, anyone? Well, it's because his wife and kids are using the NHS. So we couldn't possibly deport him because his wife and kids are using the NHS. Yeah. Oh, and a judge, yeah, immigration judges, hey, we all like them, don't we? But anyway, one of them, who happens to be called Helena Suffield Thompson, wrongly allowed a failed Iraqi asylum seeker to stay in Britain because she mistook his home country for Iran instead. And she said that he'd be at risk of persecution there. So they're obviously the best of British, aren't they? They're sort of the minds on these people. So, well, loads to go at here. But I do want to start by asking, what do you think? If a foreign criminal has family using the NHS, should we still be allowed to deport them? What do you think? Yes. So, does anyone think no? No, right, OK, there we go. Susan Hall, I will start with you. If a foreign criminal is using the NHS, does that mean that... Sorry, a foreign criminal can't be deported because his family is using the NHS. Does that mean we can't deport him? What do you think?
No, it's wrong. If you talk to people on the street, they will all say to you, it's wrong. You know, if they've done something wrong, and this chap, I've just read all the stuff on him, he should not be allowed to stay in this country. People do not think this is fair. And this is the thing that people judge things on. They just don't think this is fair. He should be sent home, and I don't care what his wife and child are undertaking at the moment, something with the NHS. He can either take them with him or they can stay here. But he should go immediately. Oh, I'm amazed I managed to get an appointment, to be honest with you. I think that would be better for me. Christa, what do you think?
Well, I think what's interesting about this is that it's about the crime as well, because most of us, right, we can look at a bit of compassion. If you saw a mum stealing food for a baby or baby formula, you'd say, OK, maybe there's context to a crime. You wouldn't like it, but you can have understanding. He conned £200,000 out of vulnerable women by making out that he was, I think he said he was an architect and he needed funds and he was basically grooming them out of money. He wasn't thinking much about that and the future family life he might have when he was acting in a criminal manner. So you have a choice, really. If you are going to commit a crime like that, you need to think, OK, well, this is going to put my future and the future of any family I have here in the UK at risk. So either you go and your family stay, or unfortunately, the whole family has to go. It's one or the other.
Well, Barry, sometimes actions have consequences, don't they? And I think, as Christo was saying, Susan alluded to there, he wasn't necessarily thinking about his wife and kids when he was conning vulnerable women out of £200,000. So maybe they just have to go and get healthcare in Nigeria, do they?
Christo's right. Context is everything here. So let's get the facts straight. The man was not an asylum seeker. He was a British citizen at the time that he was committing the crimes. And he lost his British citizenship as part of the punishment that he received in 2014 when he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. You do the crime, you pay, you do your time. And that's what he did. He spent 3 years in prison doing his time. Then 8 years later, he was now married with children, all of whom have serious health conditions, and 8 years later, the government decided, maybe we won't just take away his citizenship and let him do the time, maybe we should deport him as well. Now, at that point, what did the judge say? The judge looked at it and said, this is going to cost the country a heck of a lot of money, because this man, and I think I'm using the judge's words, was a devoted father who was looking after his sick children and his sick wife.
Well, what about the sick children of people who get the money
Hang on, and he did the time for it quite rightly, and so he should have done. But so here, that's why I think context is important, and actually, probably, the guy is saving us all as taxpayers a great deal of money by being here to look after his kids and his wife.
There's a few headshots. He's riled them up early doors at Barry Gardner. There we go. Don't say we don't have a range of views on the panel. I'll bring you in, because there is this story. I mean, there's also the one, isn't there, about, you take your pick on this, really, record numbers crossing the channel so far this year, that immigration judge mixing up Iraq and Iran. I mean, where do you want to start with all this stuff, really? I mean, the judges there, I suppose, are not covering themselves in glory again.
Yeah, but as I always say, you could look at 1,000 cases, we're going to see some mistakes being made, whether it's someone can't be deported, I think, because their kid doesn't like chicken nuggets in wherever it was. But generally speaking, and yet, like Labour, it's still not even been a year yet. They have been deporting illegal criminals. They have been doing that. They are doing what they promised. It might not be as fast as we'd like. It's not as publicised as Trump sending in ICE straight away and people going in with a gun saying, get out, get out. They're not doing it like that. But they are actually doing what they said they would do, which is more than the Tories did for 14 years. So, yes, there's some bad judges making some bad mistakes. But generally speaking, in our judicial system, it's still the best judicial system in the world.
But can I just say, this
is the only section that when we were asking you all outside, no one seemed to want to ask a question on it. We've got loads of the other ones. So you've had a little flavour of this now. Someone stick their hand up. We'll get a microphone to you. Come on, one of you must want to have a say about one of the things you've heard so far. But Christys,
by the way, he got his British citizenship after his arrest.
Yeah.
He wasn't a British citizen before he was arrested, and then he got his British citizenship after he was arrested. So, again, that's got to ask questions about whether you should get British citizenship while proceedings are active against you. So,
well, Susan, we've got what JJ was saying there, which is that Labour have not had enough time, but B, are actually doing something. I mean, the other big story there was, here we go, man's got his hand up, get the microphone. Right, hang on. So was that we've had 5,000 crossings so far this year, which is a record, which would imply that the human traffickers and the asylum seekers or illegal immigrants don't fear Labour.
No, they don't. And to be fair, we should have done more. I will say that. We absolutely should have done more. We have to put our hands up. The Conservatives should have dealt with this, and I will accept that. But, I mean, we were told so many things by Labour, weren't they, that they would smash the gangs. What's happened to that? And with regard to this gentleman that we were talking about before, the problem is we've heard so many stories like this. We keep hearing stories like this, and the British public, taxpayers, are sick to death of it.
Chap on the front row.
I mean, I love your point about saying, yes, Labour have done something in the last few months. How about smashing the gangs? How's that going?
Well, they're working on it. It's not...
great. So, but how's it going? And how long before there's going to be some result from that?
Realistically, how quick do you think these things work? It doesn't work that quickly. It really doesn't. You can talk about deporting gangs, smashing gangs, everything else.
It would have happened if Rwanda had been allowed to go ahead.
Well, no, it wouldn't have. No, it wouldn't have. How many millions did we spend wasting on Rwanda? We spent more homes...
And it was blocked every step of the way.
That's not Labour's fault, is it?
I can't help but feel that JJ's getting a bit of Barry's flack here, right? Barry is actually a Labour MP.
Go on, bring it on. Bring it on.
Go on. But what do you want to say to that? He said that this would have happened if Rwanda was in power, was in place, all that stuff. Barry, go on.
Look, I think most people accept that Rwanda, a country which, of course, is at war, has huge...
I'd love to know what you base that figure on.
Has huge human rights abuses documented all across the world. It was never an appropriate place to be putting our asylum seekers to. And the cost of it to the taxpayer has been, what, 400 million?
Yeah.
And not a single one went back as a deportee. One was encouraged to go back voluntarily because they paid him money to do so, just so that the last Conservative government could say, yeah, we have actually got somebody to Rwanda. That was not going to do it. And if you seriously think that that was going to dry up because people were going to think, oh, I better not go to Britain because if I do, I'll go to Rwanda. If you seriously think that that was going to dry up the supply, given that Rwanda did not have the space and it wasn't in the contract to take more than a couple of hundred people.
Well, I seriously think it's the biggest deterrent that we'd produced in the last 10 years.
No. But it didn't deter anyone.
Well, it would have been if had it allowed to go ahead.
OK, right, just a show of hands in the audience then, or noise is better, because we do have wonderful radio listeners as well. So, who here thinks we should have stuck with the Rwanda scheme? Yes. Yeah. Right, I've got a lot of people. Does anyone here seriously think, though, that it just wouldn't have worked and there might be a better option? Yes, fair enough, OK. And, yeah, lovely stuff, OK. So, I mean, look, obviously the alternative was what we've got now, and also some people would say, well, if people voted Reform actually did want to scrap the Rwanda scheme, I think, didn't they?
Yeah. Yes, but Reform's plan is to put the Navy in the Channel, but the Navy, when they were instructed by Priti Patel to do that in 2019, and then again, they refused.
Yeah, but I don't think the Navy should be allowed to refuse. I mean, that is very worrying.
That's another matter.
It's very worrying, because if the Navy, I don't want... Well, I don't care. If you're in the Navy, I mean, part of the job, to be fair, is that you take orders. Yeah. Right?
But it's not to breach international law or to commit war crimes, and blasting civilians...
What are they talking about?
If the Navy's there...
They're not just going to go wrong. We're here now, lads.
So what are they going to do? Patrick, what are they going to do?
Wait a minute, do you honestly think that just if we put the Navy in the Channel, they're just going to start firing them back?
No. But are they going to... If they're pushing them back... If they're pushing them back...
Go off.
Right, no. If they're pushing them back, right, and they've got nowhere to go to, they're going to drown. That would be a crime under international law.
OK, right. A lively start, and considering that we didn't have anyone who wanted to ask a question on that at the start. Top man, well done, thank you. Well, I know what you all really come here for, right? It's not me, it's not the panel, it's not Big Marcus, no. It's time for the Great British Giveaway. And it's your chance to win £17,777 in tax-free cash. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
Spring has sprung with a Great British Giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. So, coming up, it's the show that everyone has been talking about this week, Netflix's Adolescence.
I'm going to start off with asking you.
Do you know a girl called Katie Leonard?
But are we in danger of demonising white working-class boys? Would Netflix have had the bottle to make a show about, oh, I don't know, illegal migrants committing sex crimes at all? Anyway, that's all coming your way next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Farage, Monday to Thursday from 7 p.m.
Tom Bauer is back with his latest book, The Fall of Fayed. And Tom, I don't know how you do it, but you produce these books and you learn things, and we learn things about very, very important public figures. And in terms of national life, I mean, this man was around in the press for decades. The battle to buy Harrods, onto his son Dodi and Diana being killed in that tunnel in Paris. What interested me was that you actually had the opportunity originally, a long time ago, to do an authorised biography of him. What happened?
Well, what happened was he offered me a huge amount of money to stop writing the unauthorised version. I got to know Fayed very well in the early 90s because of his battle with Tiny Rowland, who owned this company Lonrho. And he helped me a lot in my biography of Tiny, which sold terribly well. And he loved it because he was very critical of Tiny. He put it up all over the Harrods.
They were at war with each other.
They were at war with each other over the fact that Fayed had got Harrods. Well, then I tried to get close to him when he was doing the Cash for Questions. He was feeding all this stuff about how he bribed MPs and how he bribed all sorts of people. And I was in his office during the summer of '97 quite a lot in Harrods. And he showed me often the photographs of him and Diana, who was in the south of France, with him and Dodi.
Yeah.
So when she died, I rang up his office and said, could I go to the Ritz and see the people who'd been with her just before he died? And she died, and then he flew me across in his helicopter 24 hours later with his head of security. And I spent the whole day interviewing the people in the Ritz who'd been with Diana and Dodi and heard this horrendous story, how they had been sent with the drunken driver at Fayed's orders. But also I saw then how he ran.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Welcome everybody to a very special Patrick Christys tonight with a live studio audience. You'd love to see it. It's the show that everyone's been talking about, though, this week. No, sadly not mine. Netflix's Adolescence. It's exploring the story of a seemingly normal young lad who brutally kills a girl.
Amy, if you do not sit... Look out! I want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down! You do not control what I... Look at me now! You do not control what I do in my life! Get that in that little head of yours!
Yep, so look, hey, I have seen absolutely every single second of this. I'll just reiterate what I said earlier on in the week, which is, I think, as a piece of cinema, it's fantastic. I like it. I like the production of it. The dialogue's great, all of that stuff, all right? But it did leave me wondering whether or not Netflix might have the bottle to commission a series about, for example, illegal migrants committing sex crimes, or one of the other topics there that you could deem to be a bit controversial. Indeed, data from the Centre for Migration Control revealed that up to 23% of sex crimes were committed by foreign nationals between 2021 and 2023. Afghans and Eritreans are leading the way in that. And the reason why I say this is because these kind of dramas, like we had with the post office scandal, they then spark debate in Parliament, they spark a change in policy. What we're seeing as a result of this now is that we might get a change in the law to basically ban certain kids from going on social media, all of that stuff. So maybe if you did something similar with some of the other topics I just mentioned there, maybe we would get real-world change as a result of it. But, JJ, I'll come to you on this one first, mate. Well, what do you make of this? Firstly, do you think there's a question that, in a way, it demonised young working-class white boys? Do you think that Netflix have the bottle to commission something about a different topic?
Netflix do shows about everything. The stuff they do about terrorism are normally factual. They're not normally scripted, they're factual. Top Boy, one of the best TV series ever made. It's about inner-city London, black guys killing each other over drugs and how the black community is decimated by it. So they cover everything. You just have to go and look for it. This is a fictional show that was written by Stephen Graham, who is actually part black himself. A lot of people don't know that. He's like, yeah, his granddad is black. He's British. He'd written it based on 2 schoolgirls who were murdered. This is a show about incels. It's not about knife crime and knife culture and drugs. It's about incels, of which is a very real problem in this country with young boys. You've got people like Andrew Tate, very real. Carl Clifford murdered and raped his girlfriend, murdered her sister, murdered the mother. That's Carl Clifford, a white guy who watched Andrew Tate videos. That's what this show is all about. You heard about the Irish guy who went to the White House last week? Conor McGregor attacked a woman so badly that she had to have her tampon surgically removed. Those are the kind of people who our young men are looking up to. This show highlights that. Conor McGregor, vicious man, goes to the White House to a president who openly says, I grab women by the P word. And we say, what a guy, what a guy. And then people complain and say, a white working class lad's being demonised. This is what they're exposed to in real life. OK, fine. I'm going to go to my audience in a second. Susan, I'm going to bring you in. You have been quite vocal in the past about the...
Everything.
One of the reasons we love you. But, about the fact that young working-class white boys or men can often be demonised or put at the back of the queue, I think.
Yes, I can. Yesterday, in front of Sadiq Khan, I was saying this, because we spend so much money on the EDI officers when we should be looking at other areas to put money in to make a big difference. If you look at every couple of years, there are parliamentary reports on the fact that white working-class boys are falling behind. Everybody talks about it for a few days, then it disappears. And then another couple of years, same thing happens. And it's a reality. White working-class boys are often ignored and left.
We've got a question from a gentleman here. Jacob, I believe. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. Hello, Jacob. Go on, what would you like to say?
Obviously, you touched on it in the panel about demonising white working-class boys. But do you think DEI has gone too far and it's actually going against a lot of white working-class boys who want to gain a variety of careers? OK, so we're knocking it on slightly. This is not all about adolescence. But, Barry, I'll put that to you. Do you think that diversity and inclusion policies have gone too far? They are going against white people, I suppose.
Let's be clear. The poorest performing children in school are white working-class boys. And... you know, despite what Susan says, Sadiq Khan is not responsible for the whole of the rest of the country, and it's happening all over this country. It's not just happening in London. So I don't think we can blame Sadiq Khan for it, because there has been a catastrophic failure for white working class boys in this country. And that is as a result of a failing education system. And not just the education system, it's absolutely what JJ is talking about in terms of the way in which those young men are made to feel that there is only one way of being a young man, and it's through assertive aggression. So your question about inclusion policy, and Patrick, you're right, that shifts the ground on to saying, well, what do we want when we're employing somebody, okay? And I will always say that you want the best person for the job, okay? Now, if there are two people who are applying for that job and they are genuinely equal in their qualifications, in their aptitude, in their skills, then if somebody has come from a more disadvantaged background to achieve that level, I think it's fair to say, well, it's Hobson's choice between the two, but this one's actually had to do more to get there than anybody else.
But sorry, just on that, is race inherently a disadvantage? Because
absolutely not.
Because that's the thing. Just
if we're talking
bigotry of low expectations.
Absolutely not. And that's why I phrased it in that way, Patrick. Because if it's somebody from Rishi Sunak's family, or who's gone to Eton or Winchester, nobody's going to say that they've been disadvantaged in that way.
Just to say, so I'll bring Christo in a second. But go on. How do you feel about what you've heard there?
In a job application, I don't think any two people are completely equal. I think that's very rare.
Well, I can tell you that under the Tory government, there was a study done, and they had same amount of same CVs. On one, they had a foreign surname, so it was Abdul Mohammed, for example, and the other one, it was John Smith. They found, when they sent it as a blanket to, like, over 200 employees, that the people with the foreign-sounding names had to be reconsidered 4 or 5 times more. So if you have a foreign-sounding name in this country, you must apply for more jobs. And that was the Tory government. It's not me. That's the Tory government who did that.
Well, it's interesting, though, isn't it? Because you have people like, for example, the BBC, where there have been adverts that white people cannot apply for. There's been numerous things there. I mean, Christys, do you think it's possible here now? Racism doesn't just work one way, does it, really? I mean, white people can be the victims of racism as well, can't they?
Yeah, two things. Firstly, I think that the debate about young men, last week on this panel I said I wouldn't be a young, straight guy for love nor money now
just
because
as well,
you've got
really.
so many... Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, I think...
Was that an ageist comment?
I think you'll find that side of my life is an enigma and people aren't very aware of it there, thank you. But I think that you get so many mixed messages about what it is you're supposed to be, whether you're supposed to be tough, masculinity's toxic, but actually, no, we want masculinity. So I think the fact we're having this debate is brilliant. This story was about why white guys get radicalised. There are different reasons why I think young black guys get radicalised into knife crime or those sorts of crimes. Top Boy, as you said, covers that. Had it been a black guy, we'd have ended up talking about black crime and not young white guys. Now, can I just say very quickly on DEI, DEI used to be, in my opinion, and something happened in the last 20 years about making people equal, whether it be gay rights getting the same as straight people, whether it be women's rights being the same as men, ethnicity, all of these things putting everyone on an equal footing. Something strange happened in the last 20 years, and equal rights became about demonising the people who weren't in the minority. So white privilege became about, you're white, so their privilege is being used in a negative term. It's not about saying we want black people to be elevated, it's about white people being made to feel bad. I don't want straight people to feel bad in my pursuit of having equality as a gay person. We shouldn't be making men feel terrible because there isn't equality for women.
But what I would say is, I think certain media people turn it into a race thing. Because I have more in common with white working class people who I grew up with on a council estate than I do Kwasi Kwarteng and Mr Sunak. Just because they're brown and black doesn't mean we have anything in common.
Right.
What we're separated by is class. And that is it. And I have a bias towards working class people. I'd rather be with working class people than be with posh people. I meet a posh person, instinctively I have an immediate dislike towards them because they think they're better than we are and they're not better than we are. So, No, listen. But let me finish. That's my bias. But this is what I'm saying. Is that everyone has a bias. Every single person has a bias, and you can say no, we don't have a bias. I'm not a racist. I've got a sperm in my body. Everyone has a bias. People gravitate towards people whom they feel they have similar.
Well, that's not bias. That's just having something in common with other people.
No, it's not. It's bias. No, everyone has a bias.
Gravitate towards
everyone has a bias.
Common with. That's a
bias. That's still a bias, mate.
Well,
That's still a bias.
It may not be a positive bias. You're making it sound like it's such a dreadful thing to just.
I'm not saying it's a dreadful thing. I'm not saying it's a dreadful thing, but I'm saying everyone has a bias. Every single person has a bias.
Right, this is by far the liveliest Friday night show. We've got loads more to get through, so I'm sorry to put a pin in that. We're going to have to rattle on because a Home Office contractor has been sacked from the job he's loved and done for more than 15 years. His heinous crime. He shared a post made by Reform UK's Richard Tice, raising concerns about a Muslim lobbying group. So, look, is free speech under attack in Britain, do we think? I can't wait to talk to you all about that.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Low pressure remains mostly in charge of Western Europe, bringing heavy showers and thunderstorms, bringing in a further risk of flooding. The odd shower across Madeira and Tenerife, but the bulk of the rain affecting Portugal and Spain, where already they have had most of the rain through the week. Still plenty of showers elsewhere across Europe, and mostly dry across parts of Greece, and remaining dry here with the best of the temperatures, but elsewhere still remaining largely showery, and this is limiting temperatures at around the mid to high teens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, I'm furious with our director this morning because I said this is not breaking news, and so he's gone all out.
He's gone all
breaking
out.
News everywhere. Because guess what, ladies and gents? The lineup for Glastonbury 2025 has been released.
It's great.
Who cares?
It's
frankly?
great.
Who cares?
I really like it.
I couldn't give a monkeys.
Right, I'll tell you.
An Arctic monkeys.
Well, they're not playing, are they?
I've no idea.
I don't think they are. US pop star Olivia Rodrigo.
Who?
She's very good. British band, the 1975.
Who?
Are going to headline. And Neil Young, who many of us will remember from decades and decades.
Is he there?
Who is 80 and he's playing.
Right.
And good for him.
Well, yeah, but that's nothing, because apparently Charlie XCX is playing. Who?
Well, she just won 5 Brit Awards.
She did
win the Brits, yes. absolutely.
Well,
so
I don't care about that either.
Stephen, she is a real amazing person. This is a very brat boy summer.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
And a brat boy summer.
This is growing out my pocket.
It looks like a bouquet.
Alanis Morissette, who I've heard of, Fatboy Slim and the Scissor Sisters.
And Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart, yeah.
And the Prodigy. You will have heard of Rod Stewart.
Yeah, I'm not.
The Prodigy, you would have heard of.
The Prodigy, you would have heard of.
Fatboy Slim, Snow Patrol.
Snow Patrol.
Snow Patrol.
That was a cartoon.
They do, Snow Patrol do the song for Grey's Anatomy. It's brilliant.
I've never seen
The Libertines.
Anyway,
Maccabees. I think it's a great lineup.
Alex Armstrong and Scarlett Maguire are here for this latest on the breaking news this morning. You couldn't give 2 hoots, could you, Scarlett?
I will not be going to Glastonbury, but my son probably will be for the sort of 15th time in a row.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Audience show here. What are you doing sitting at home? You need to be right here in the studio. Make sure that you're here next Friday. But a Home Office, why not? A Home Office contractor has been sacked for sharing a post made by Reform UK MP Richard Tice in a WhatsApp group. So he's called Gary Cousin, and he was fired after a complaint about the message, which raised concerns about a Muslim lobbying group. He was just sacked for it. He was subsequently dismissed by the government contractor as well, despite the company accepting that he had not intended to cause any offence. But there's another story as well. UEFA have now charged Rangers because of, quote, racist and or discriminatory banners in the stands and their match with Turkish side Fenerbahce last week. So the club described it as shameful. They've called on fans basically to disassociate yourself with the club media. This thing says keep woke ideologies, keep woke foreign ideologies out, defend Europe. That's what the banner said. Keep woke foreign ideologies out, defend Europe. Well, I mean, look, come on, realistically, do you think that free speech is under threat? Before we go to my panel, before we go to my audience, this is the kind of story that makes me want to go down the pub. We're going to bring in Adam Brooks, and I believe he's got Big Marcus with him as well. Adam, look, hey, what are people saying about all this nonsense now?
Look, people are worried about their freedom of speech being eroded in this country. That's, that a lot of people I speak to are scared to actually say their views on social media or at work in case they're sacked or there's a pile-on. And I was just speaking to Marcus about this case, and can you imagine if this guy had shared maybe a Labour MP's post about, say, Israel or something like that, would he be sacked? No, he wouldn't. It just seems like we have to tiptoe around Islam and, be careful what we say, because if others want to accuse you of being Islamophobic, it's going to cause your employer or someone a problem. So here, this is really unjust. This is definitely two-tier. But Marcus has got a lot to say on this free speech. 1 second.
Brennan, you've got to ask yourself, why a civil servant gets sacked for his views on Islam? Private views, mind you. And I'll tell you why, because it's not only two-tiered policing, it's become two-tiered freedom of speech in this country. Unfortunately, what we're doing, we're bending over, we're being bullied from our religion, when basically we should be treated the same. People that disagree with it, and what's happening, it's been eroded. It's been bullied.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. I'm sure there'll be the stuff in the studio.
Really, well done, Adam. Well done, Big Marcus. So what do we make of it in the audience? Do people feel as though free speech is under threat, do you think? Yes. Yeah, OK. I mean, there's been a lot of people, clearly, who feel that way. There's a lady on the front row here. Thank you very much. Great to see you. Now, we haven't got a huge amount of time, so to make sure you rattle through it if you can, but what's the question that you would like to ask?
Really, about free speech, you're saying here that the Home Office is involved. I want to know why the Blob and the Home Office, unelected people, are allowed to rule the roost and lay down the law. OK. So why? So in what sense, though? Sorry. So that they can say, you can't say this, you can't say that. I personally have experience of of suffering with not having free speech. I actually stood as a Reform candidate, and I was suspended because someone on one of my Facebook pages for my campaigners had put an inappropriate post, and I was suspended because someone had put an inappropriate post. There were 2,000 people on it. I couldn't monitor it. So, and in any way, I joined Reform because they stand for free speech. So, I'm sorry, free speech doesn't exist.
Well,
right.
I think...
all right, well, go on.
If this was on a WhatsApp work group, I believe, I don't know what the thing was posted, but on my WhatsApp work group, if I posted something that my boss thought was inappropriate for work, my boss can fire me, so I guess that's the same with the Home Office. But I do think...
It wasn't the Home Office. It was the contractor, Mighty, that fired him. The Home Office had nothing to do with that.
Right.
Mighty was a contractor for the Home Office.
Yeah.
The guy worked for Mighty, not for the Home Office.
And part of his job, was about looking at different foreign-born people, and part of the job was about whether to
about deporting people.
Work-related.
Yeah. But I think the question here is, why did Richard Tice say that the group, the group that was there was to undermine government policy? Now, GB News reported this correctly. You actually said that the group promoted, and I quote, a clear understanding of generic Islam and was to provide advice to management on religious issues that affected Muslim staff. Now, that's a very different thing to what Richard Tice posted. He said it was there to undermine government policy. Complete nonsense. So you've got to ask, when the guy was reposting what Richard Tice had done, and I presume approving it on this WhatsApp group, he was actually reinforcing something that was absolutely incorrect. But GB News got it right, Richard Tice got it wrong.
Can I just say really quickly, though, Mitty actually went on to claim that sharing this in the WhatsApp group could be perceived as offensive and racist by others, though they accepted that
he didn't mean to.
Intended to be.
That's the problem.
Why aren't we looking at intent rather than outcome? Why aren't we looking at... Why are we firing people because of what would be perceived to be wrong, rather than saying, okay, what did they mean it that way?
It's fine to cause offence.
Okay.
And actually, even if...
That's the problem.
No, but
I get offended by things...
In this country, it's fine to cause offence. And I absolutely agree with you about freedom of speech, because it's vital we have freedom of speech in this country, and that means you have the freedom to offend people, but you don't have the freedom to cause religious hatred.
Let's bring Susan Hall in here. Keep woke foreign ideologies out, defend Europe. These are Rangers fans, football fans, at a football game. Anyone who's ever been to a football match will tell you hear all sorts of songs chanted in the terraces, don't you? You know, OK, it's like... Well, the idea that UEFA have... I mean, Rangers have branded their own fans shameful here as a result. What's going on,
I think the world has gone mad. This lady was talking about something that was put on a post when she's got thousands of followers. During the mayoralty, I had quite a few of these various Facebook things. I never went near them because obviously I was so busy out doing what one does.
Yep.
And then some people posted things that shouldn't have been there. And we had to have people all the time trying to take things off because people were complaining about it. Well, you've got to look at intent. How can they sack somebody when they admit that they accept that he didn't mean to be offensive or cause a problem?
Yeah.
The world has gone mad.
We had people on the streets. You remember shortly after October the 7th, we had a group which is now banned in the UK called Hizb ut-Tahrir, and they had people with big orange banners calling for jihad on the streets of Britain. And the Met Police said at the time, well, there's context there. There's a bit of context there, OK? But you've got a bloke who might share something from Richard Tice or Rangers fans just saying, keep woke ideology out of prison. Oh, it's shameful and wrong. Absolutely shameful and wrong. Go on.
Well, I'm just going to say, like, the Rangers thing I've got a bit more sympathy with, because it's the word... It's because they worded it woke foreign ideologies, and it sounds a bit like keep foreigners out of Britain. I'm of Greek descent. Like, what does that mean? And so that's why I think if the word foreign wasn't in there, it would be a little bit more acceptable.
All right. We can't go back to you, unfortunately. Sorry, because I've got to go for the next topic, I'm afraid. Sorry, but you'll have another chance later on. We went back to the Home Office response, and also a spokesperson for Mighty, I think they're called, said we don't comment on individual cases, but we've got zero tolerance for racism or discrimination. UEFA has, as I've said, charged now Rangers. Right, loads more coming your way.
So while you work, I'm gonna need your help.
Let's go!
I'd just like to finish this section with a trigger warning. In moments' time, I'll be talking about ominous trees, gentle kissing and poison. Yes, Disney's woke Snow White remake just went from bad to worse. Stay tuned to find out why.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It has been a remarkably dry March so far across the UK, but it's all changed this weekend. Cloudier skies, spells of rain or showers moving through, and as a result, feeling significantly cooler. We've already seen the isobars tighten up across the UK ahead of this area of low pressure. That's increased the breeze as we've gone through the last couple of days. A mild breeze, but increasingly an unsettled one, with spells of rain moving north across the country. The most persistent wet weather overnight, northern England into Scotland and Northern Ireland, although even here there'll be some drier interludes. Further south, eventually turning drier, some clear spells, but with a lot of cloud and that breeze, it is going to be a mild start to Saturday, certainly a frost-free start, a marked contrast compared with the sunny but chilly mornings of the week so far. Now, we do start with plenty of dry weather across England and Wales, although showers couldn't be ruled out just about anywhere. I think West Wales, North West England seeing some sunshine early on. Otherwise, a lot of cloud blankets the UK. And we've got two areas of rain moving north, one affecting western Scotland and western parts of Northern Ireland, another one affecting eastern parts of Scotland, in between some showers. And really, it's a slow-moving situation as we go through the day. I think that for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we'll see further spells of rain or showers, the wettest weather likely for western Scotland, the far north and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, skies do brighten into the afternoon. There'll be some sunshine. Some places will get away with a dry afternoon, but there'll also be these slow-moving heavy downpours, particularly across central parts of the UK. Where we do get sunshine, 17, 18 Celsius possible, so still some warmth, but it is turning cooler gradually through the weekend. And after a gloomy start to Sunday with some mistiness around eastern coasts, it's going to be another day of sunny spells and some spells of rain or showers. The showers heaviest towards southern parts of England. And we keep the showers going into next week, but it's going to turn drier for many.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Going to be too triggered by this. Nobody be triggered, all right? It's gone from bad to worse for Disney's woke new Snow White film. It's been slapped with a bizarre trigger warning. Yes, perfect timing, mate. Well done. Viewers are warned that a woman is deliberately poisoned, a couple gently kiss, and the film features ominous trees. Yes, indeed. No, we can't have that, can we? There's a lady in the lady in the audience who'd like to ask a question. Go on, what would you like to say?
Hi. So, obviously, it's great that they're talking about current issues and everything in the new making of the Snow White movie. But the original Snow White was 75 years ago, I think. It was a different time. Why did they have to ruin the original?
Oh.
Why couldn't they write a new film and address it with new characters and, you know, get rid of all this nonsense that we've had with over the last year?
Christo, go on.
I mean, I don't know, the ominous trees. I mean, I've definitely been scared of the odd bush.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is free speech. A little too free for my liking.
You'll find I'm addressing the serious issues around the film, Mary. Thank you very much. I'm a bit of a film buff. I think trigger warnings, I've got a mixed feeling on trigger warnings because I feel like without them we're going to lose stuff. Because do you remember when Hello started having trigger warnings when it was being shown on things? Because, I mean, Hello I love because it took the mickey out of absolutely everyone, but we had to have trigger warnings, and without them, we would have not had Hello ever shown again. So, although I hate trigger warnings, and although it is ridiculous to sort of state that there might be an evil queen that, like, can I just say one other one? Do you ever see like the end of sort of EastEnders, which I do love EastEnders, but they'll sort of say, and it'll be after their mother-in-law has plotted for 6 months to sort of kill them whilst having an affair with like their stepson's, partner, and then the dog might be killed as well. They'll be like, if you're experiencing any of these issues at the end, no, I don't think I am going to experience any of that. So, I mean, I get why they have to do it, but I don't like them.
So, to answer your question about why they can't just leave the original, I've asked Disney this before in the past about other films they've remade, and they say they're not touching the original. The original Snow White film that we like is still there for you to watch. Yeah. They're not touching that. They're making a new version for today's younger kids. And the films that we want to watch, as I guess most of us are over 40, I am, and not the ones that my 4-year-old boy wants to watch. He thinks that the old cartoons are terribly made and that's poor quality, so they're making all these remakes for the next generation of kids.
OK. But one of the other things, sorry, we are going to have to go on, but one of the other things, seriously, about this is I interviewed an actor with dwarfism on my show a little while ago, because what they're doing now in a lot of these new films is they're not employing dwarf actors for roles that are literally dwarves, right? I mean, and so they're because they think that that's demonising them. But it's actually just putting people out of work. Yeah. And he was livid about it. He was absolutely fuming.
Peter Dinklage, wasn't he? He came out and said, it's disgraceful.
He pulled the ladder up.
Yeah.
Seriously, for want of a better phrase. No, did not mean that. Anyway, right, coming up, great.
I just want to know if Christys ever met an evil queen.
You and I back at the end of the mirror. Anyway, coming up. That brought Heathrow to a standstill. The acts of Russian sabotage. Are we now at war after Reef? Anyway, hopefully we're still in when we come back.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It has been a remarkably dry March so far across the UK, but it's all changed this weekend. Cloudier skies, spells of rain or showers moving through, and as a result, feeling significantly cooler. We've already seen the isobars tighten up across the UK ahead of this area of low pressure. That's increased the breeze as we've gone through the last couple of days. A mild breeze, but increasingly an unsettled one, with spells of rain moving north across the country. The most persistent wet weather overnight, northern England into Scotland and Northern Ireland, although even here there'll be some drier interludes. Further south, eventually turning drier, some clear spells, but with a lot of cloud and that breeze, it is going to be a mild start to Saturday, certainly a frost-free start, a marked contrast compared with the sunny but chilly mornings of the week so far. Now, we do start with plenty of dry weather across England and Wales, although showers couldn't be ruled out just about anywhere. I think West Wales, North West England seeing some sunshine early on. Otherwise, a lot of cloud blankets the UK. And we've got two areas of rain moving north, one affecting western Scotland and western parts of Northern Ireland, another one affecting eastern parts of Scotland, in between some showers. And really, it's a slow-moving situation as we go through the day. I think that for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we'll see further spells of rain or showers, the wettest weather likely for western Scotland, the far north and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, skies do brighten into the afternoon. There'll be some sunshine. Some places will get away with a dry afternoon, but there'll also be these slow-moving, heavy downpours, particularly across central parts of the UK. Where we do get sunshine, 17, 18 Celsius possible, so still some warmth, but it is turning cooler gradually through the weekend. And after a gloomy start to Sunday with some mistiness around eastern coasts, it's going to be another day of sunny spells and some spells of rain or showers. The showers heaviest towards southern parts of England. And we keep the showers going into next week, but it's going to turn drier for many.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner of the Great British Giveaway, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. Cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Wow, good evening. Hello. Lovely stuff. Right. Happy Friday night, everybody. Thank you very much to my wonderful live studio audience. Well, we are here with that lovely audience. Today, though, there was a disaster. Yes, there was.
So excited to be sunny skies. And it was my daughter who phoned this morning at 6:10 to say, "Mummy, there's a fire at Heathrow."
Did Putin attack Britain? Heathrow Airport closed after a big explosion, but... Is the problem actually net zero lunacy? And...
They're having to learn to get by on less.
How are we supposed to live on £50 a week?
And rely on each other more.
Labour is being slammed by some for their benefits cuts, plus...
OK, what I need you to do is follow my instructions very carefully, OK? Good.
Mohammed Farouk has been jailed for life for trying to blow up a hospital in Leeds. Oh, but, well, I must say, this was the highlight of my week.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
Did anybody, sorry, quickly before we move on, did anybody else watch that? When we were like, oh, my, how good was that? How good was that? Absolutely mega. I loved it. It was great. I could watch it all night. Anyway, let me introduce my wonderful panel, shall we? Here we go. Right, OK, so we've got the Labour MP for Brent West, Barry Gardner. We have got the former Tory mayoral candidate and notorious detester of Sadiq Khan, the TV Supremo, JJ Ansobi. And the man, the myth, the legend, and bush-phobic. It is... And very shortly, we are going to be going down the pub with Adam Brooks. Was this disaster a national embarrassment? And there's all of this talk now, isn't there, of conscription. I want to know whether or not Big Marcus will go and fight on the front line. So, there we go. All of that comes your way after your headlines.
Patrick, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your headlines. Heathrow Airport has restarted some flights tonight and it hopes to run a full service tomorrow, while restrictions on overnight flights have been temporarily lifted to help ease congestion. It's after a fire at a nearby electrical substation forced Europe's busiest airport into shutdown. More than 1,300 flights have been cancelled or diverted, affecting over 200,000 passengers and leaving planes and crews in the wrong locations. Counter-terrorism police are now leading an investigation into the blaze, though they say there's no indication of foul play. The London Fire Brigade has now also said the fire is believed to be non-suspicious. Speaking earlier, the Heathrow Airport CEO apologised for the shutdown.
First of all, what I'd like to do is to apologise to the many people who have had their travel affected during the day-to-day. We are very sorry about all the inconvenience. I hope people appreciate that we do not close down the airport unless we have severe safety concerns. That's why we do it, and that's what has happened today. We've been working tirelessly to get the operation back into running, and that's what's now happening.
To the US now, where Donald Trump has said Russia is only fearful of NATO with the US as a member. In a news conference from the Oval Office today, the US president claimed NATO was gone until I came along. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump said he thinks there will be a full ceasefire that will take place pretty soon between Ukraine and Russia. It comes as the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has today told non-EU countries and EU chiefs during a phone call that it was clear Vladimir Putin was trying to delay a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. Back in the UK, 3 teenage boys have been charged with rape of a girl under the age of 16. The incident happened on the 10th of February last year in Rochdale. That's according to Greater Manchester Police. The force said each of the boys, aged 13, 14 and 15, have been charged with 1 count of rape of a female under 16. In other news, a man who took a bomb into a Leeds hospital intending to kill as many nurses as possible has been jailed for life. Mohammed Farouk has been jailed at Sheffield Crown Court for a minimum term of 37 years. Farouk, who was a trainee nurse, was last year found guilty of attempting to launch an ISIS-inspired suicide attack using a homemade bomb on the St James's Hospital, where he worked in 2023. And more than 5,000 migrants have arrived in the UK after crossing the English Channel so far this year. That's according to the latest figures. Some 341 people made the journey in 6 boats yesterday, bringing the total for the year so far to 5,025. This is the earliest point in the year that crossings have reached the 5,000 mark since data on Channel crossings was first reported in 2018. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
And of course, as well, England won the football, so what? The first game under Thomas Tuchel. Didn't sing the national anthem, though, I think, did he? So anyone bothered about that? No, we're not. As long as we're winning, it doesn't matter. As long as we're winning. Anyway, earlier today, this happened.
Breaking news today, thousands stranded as Heathrow Airport shuts down.
Yes, a huge fire breaks out beside Britain's busiest airport and it's causing mass cancellations.
So there was a fire at an electrical substation. Flights cancelled, 200,000 travellers outraged.
I was so excited to be sunny skies. And it was my daughter who phoned this morning at 6:10 to say, "Mummy, there's a fire at Heathrow."
I don't know who the beautiful redhead is there in that shop. Anyway, whatever. Who's to blame, though? Who's to blame? Because Richard Tice thinks it's net zero.
Having spoken to an industry expert, it appears that Heathrow had changed its backup systems in order to be, wait for it, net zero compliant, and therefore they had got rid of their diesel generators and had moved towards a biomass generator.
But could it really be this guy? Was Putin behind it? The Heathrow CEO said that there was no criminal element to the fire, but counter-terror police are still investigating. To be fair, the timing is absolutely perfect, isn't it, really? Prince William has been on the Russian border of Estonia today, dressed up like a soldier and driving a tank. If he accidentally just drove it into Russia. This is how it starts, you know. But anyway, a member of the royal family driving a tank there. The Royal Air Force is going to patrol the skies over Ukraine to see off the Russians. And if that fails, well, just one of our Trident nuclear submarines could incinerate 40 Russian cities. That was the article today. That is, of course, if it works, because the last 2 Trident nuclear test launches have failed. The last one just plopped into the ocean, so conceivably we would have ended up just killing our own troops, actually, if we'd done that. There is talk of conscription. The French are sending out survival guides to all of their citizens. We are getting ready for war, supposedly. And we forgot to check if the backup generator at our busiest airport even works. You know, you can't have it all, can you? You can't have it all. It doesn't matter whether or not this was Putin. Either way, I think it's fair to say he is probably laughing his head off right now. But let's quickly go down to the pub, shall we? Ask Adam Brooks what he makes of all of this nonsense at Heathrow. But crucially, I want to know, all this talk of conscription, Adam, is Big Marcus going to go and fight on the front line?
Marcus Patrick wants to know, would you go and fight Russia on the front line? Absolutely no way. Listen, if anyone's silly enough to invade this country, I'll be out there and I would fight. I need to buy my own peace. I'm not going to get involved in a war that's got nothing to do with this country. And besides, where's the money coming from? The money I spent on this war, I spent in the old Britain, we built up this country initially. Forget about war. We're not interested in war with Russia. That's Big Marcus, and I sort of echo that. As a father, I won't be losing my life and making my kids fatherless on a war that we don't agree with, and it has nothing to do with us, Patrick. Again, if someone was silly enough to invade Britain, then me and Marcus would be on the front line straight away. But it's not anything to do with us, and no one's going to invade us. We've got nuclear weapons.
All right, lovely. So both of you, thank you very much. Adam Brooks. There we go. Look, I don't know about you, but if Big Marcus is on the front line, I'd be hiding behind him. Right, let's get the views of my wonderful panel this evening. Now, what do we think's going on here, you know? Is this an embarrassment, Susan, for Britain? Because, yeah, we've got all this talk about war and we're going to see off the Russians and all that. We haven't got a backup generator at Heathrow by the looks of this.
I know. I mean, you were making us laugh, but actually it isn't funny, is it? And it is very embarrassing for us that our main airport just failed completely for the day. I just feel so sorry for all those people that were stuck halfway or couldn't get away. But, I mean, our reputation is really going to suffer. And when you look, you know, Starmer talks of the game, but we're really reduced on troops. Everything's been run down, and it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
Chris, what do you make of what we saw today at Heathrow?
Chaos, flights cancelled, no information, furious customers stranded. Or as I like to call it, a normal day for British Airways. Sorry. Look, what would have helped today? Do you know what would have really helped? Some other runways. Maybe some other airports having some runways. Do you know when we first started talking about the third runway at Heathrow? 1946 was when we first mooted the third runway. I would be driving that bulldozer myself today. They didn't want to build the third runway until 1950, right, because they wanted to give people in the surrounding villages the chance to get used to the idea. I think they're used to the idea. So if we had perhaps another runway at Gatwick, if we had more runways as a backup, that would have helped ease the pressure. But the fact that we don't have a backup generator, or the fact that potentially it was the diesel running the generator meant that our airport had to close, that is patently ridiculous, and it just adds to the idea that we're a joke and nothing works. OK, now, there's a gentleman on the front row with a microphone, again, so I'm assuming you would like to say something.
I would.
Go on.
Yes. I find it
completely astounding that the situation was allowed to occur. In the planning stage years ago, somebody, an architect, an airport planner, must have thought, I wonder what would happen if the single power unit that was powering Heathrow Airport failed. Would it not be sensible to have a backup system that would kick in immediately and then keep the busiest international airport in the world running? And it's a total embarrassment and a total failure.
And everyone agree with that, do you think?
Yeah. However, they did have a backup system. And the system failed as well.
You need one that works.
Well, yeah,
and,
with
you know,
diesel or whatever it needs. But if...
And it doesn't matter whether the Russians blew it up or whether it was an accident or it was out-of-date equipment. Well, no, but that's not the issue. Is, you know, why was the airport allowed to be in a situation where it stopped running?
One thing I will say, just sorry, I'll come to you in a second, Gentry, but one thing I saw all this happening. There was all this talk about, like, I suppose it might be the Russians. I mean, I saw it happening in real time. It might be Putin, it's the Russians, counter-terrorism involved, could be the Russians, could be the Russians. It doesn't actually look like it was the Russians, Barry, does it? I mean, I think this is our fault.
We did it to ourselves. Absolutely. Look, a few days ago, I was actually in the Netherlands. 40% of their country is actually below sea level. They've literally built their country. They understand about disasters. They've got the most amazing structures and dikes to block off their seaboard, to make sure that they've got the dikes and polders to stop the rainwater coming in and flooding the entire country. And they've managed it because what they did was they assessed the risk properly in the first place. They then did strategic planning for the whole of the country at every level, integrating government at the national level and at the local level, and they've managed a system. But you can't do this unless you are going to plan. And there's something called the Sendai framework, which is the disaster risk reduction framework. You've got to assess the risk and then you've got to invest in it. And we haven't invested in it, and that's the problem.
This is a problem. I mean, JJ, this is embarrassing, isn't it, for Britain, this?
Yeah, but sadly we're all used to it. You know, you go to Amsterdam and you can get on a train that's got two levels.
2 levels, yep.
You can't build 2-level trains here because every different county's got different planning laws. And
the tunnels are too low.
You can't take up that tunnel because it's a road that goes over here. It's ridiculous. But unfortunately, this is what I've come to expect from Britain. How can you go to Dubai and they've built an entire city that looks amazing in 25 years and we can't build council houses for 500,000 people?
I know.
It's nuts.
It's infuriating, isn't it? This is the country, you know, we created some of the greatest minds that the world has ever seen. We cracked the Enigma code, all of this stuff. And we can't sort stuff like that.
But we did put it in so many years before everybody else, you know, and if you look at more modern things, then you do put all these risks.
Susan, we can't even fix our roads.
Electricity. We invented the trains.
I accept that, but we do have to also look at what we've got. The tunnels are a size. They've been there for donkey's years.
Yeah, knock them down and let's build again.
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. What about the rare species of bat?
This is it.
You know, we can't. Those lesser-spotted newts that will be absolutely crippled, wouldn't they?
I'm honestly about to go and rent a JCB.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and I'm just going to start bulldozing.
How do you guys look? Do you want us to things when it comes to house building, when it comes to fixing potholes, when it comes to taking your flipping bins out? I mean, do you just want us to do it? Is this what it is? Do you just want us to just do all this stuff? Why can't we get anything right? We are a great country. There's people in this audience you're all great people. I think I'm convinced if you were all in charge of this stuff, it would just get done. What's going on? What is going on? Why can't we do it?
Can I just say one more? And it's very London, but you will appreciate this. In London, we've got the Bakerloo line, right? And they've been talking about extending that. Now they're saying we think we're going to get it within about 20 years. Do you know when we first started talking about extending the Bakerloo line? 1913. That was when we first started talking about it. Why do we talk about these things for so long?
It's those people in Harrow, they won't let it go any further.
But you were talking about the number of runways at Heathrow. That wouldn't have helped this morning, would it?
No, it wouldn't. You're right.
It wouldn't, but one at Gatwick would have helped. Another one at Luton, a new airport, maybe Boris Island. Just build one.
There we go. You know, I got landed on, just to continue what you were saying about British Airways, I was on a flight from France, and it was late. It was British Airways. We got on the flight. The toilets were clogged. They'd not emptied the toilets, and they dropped us at the wrong airport because City Airport closes at midday on a Saturday. Why? It's just absolutely. What is going on? The flight, by the way, it's an hour-and-a-half flight. I could have flipping walked there by the time that they landed me. But anyway, right. Well, of course, look, I've got loads coming your way. But this is why we're all here tonight, isn't it? It's for the latest Great British giveaway. Can I just say, who in this room has entered it?
Me!
Right! Yes. Okay, there's a couple coming out the woodwork now. Anyway, it's your chance to win £17,777 in cold, hard, tax-free cash. Is the best kind of cash. Here's how you can win it.
Spring has sprung with a Great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, so when we come back, of course, we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. The government has unveiled their benefits overhaul this week, and it's a bid to save £5 billion from the country's welfare bill. Incapacity benefits, universal credit, all of that stuff is going to be for the chop in some cases. But I just wondered whether or not somebody could do some kind of comedic take on this. Well, let's see. La 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 la, fa la 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 la, fa la. Oh, hey, sorry, I was just practising for one of my voice coach lessons later. As Prime Minister, I take my job very seriously. And my job is to look after the British taxpayers, British citizens, British voters, the people who put me into number 10. But I've got some tough decisions to make today. Who gets the money and who doesn't get the money? So let's have a little look, shall we? Who are we dealing with here? Oh, it's the disabled, isn't it? The disabled. I mean, he already passed closer to the shops. What more does he want, this guy? You know what that is? Come here, have a look at this. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Selfish. That's what that is. I've always said this. Have a really good time, but not on my dime, OK? Now, what's this here now? Oh, pensioners. The old hand turning up the thermostat. She must be freezing in her own home, bless her. Nope. OK, farmers. So these are the lifeblood of Britain, the backbone of British society. They feed us all. Nah, not for me. Right, OK, so let's have a look at this. The high street shops, small business owners, they're the ones, aren't they? They really voted for change under me. Well, what I say to them is pay more tax, and if you have to shut your shop, gives you more time to go outside and clap for the NHS. Doesn't it? Who have we got here now? Oh, yes. Illegal immigrants. Now, to the untrained eye, this might look like a boatload of Afghans. But the reality is, these are future Labour voters. Remember that, future Labour voters. And I have got all the money in the world for them. So, right, let me just call Rachel. Hang on. Hey, Rachel, how are you? Yeah, good. Now, I've crunched the numbers. Yeah, everything's great. So what we're going to do is more money for illegal immigrants. No, it's just more money for illegal immigrants. Yeah. What, the disabled? The disabled? Nah. All right. OK, that's all good. Oh, and if you see Lord Ali, just tell him I need a new suit. All right, cheers, thank you. Bye-bye. Lovely. Oh, fa la 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 la.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here with an exclusive opportunity just for you, our incredible GB News viewers. We're giving you the opportunity to win a VIP studio tour right here at GB News HQ. Plus, you'll also get to meet yours truly. It's easy to enter, just head to gbnews.com/community competition and follow the easy steps. Don't miss out, enter now, and I'll see you soon at GB News. Full T's and C's apply.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Our hope is that this will have impact to be able to drive connections for those who have been suffering from hearing loss and allow them to experience those special moments.
Okay, so how does the hearing aid feature actually work?
It's really simple, and that is what's so beautiful about the feature. We designed it so it could be used across all age groups, all tech savviness, if you will. You simply take a hearing test right on your iPhone using the AirPods Pro 2. It creates a personalized hearing profile, which then automatically pre-programs the AirPods Pro 2 to work as a hearing assistive device. And so just with a touch of a button, you'll now be able to augment the frequencies where you may need some assistance. And what's beautiful about the hearing test is it's a clinically validated audiogram. So we compared it to what is considered gold standard in the hearing world. And the hearing aid the hearing aid feature basically simply turns on and allows you to use it not just when you're talking with one another, like with another individual, but whether you're using it across phone calls, your media, your entertainment. So it's a really simple experience.
And have you noticed, because this has been rolled out around the world before it's come here to Britain, but have you seen a spike in people realising that they actually have hearing loss as a result of taking the test with this feature?
I can anecdotally share with you that even just in my circle and talking to people sometimes have picked up things that they didn't expect and noticed that they had some hearing issues. What's probably been so impactful is the letters we get from customers. One of the ones that we just got last week was a grandmother who was able to hear her soft-spoken grandchild for the first time by using this. And I think that is what's so special about it. We've already heard from customers around the world who have been able to use it over the past few months, how it's made an impact in their life.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And hearing before the break, of course, the government unveiled some of their benefits overhauls this week. They want to save about £5 billion. Look, the fact is, I was making the point there, wasn't I, about whether or not they've got their priorities straight in Britain. I know that Barry's itching to come back, but there's a lady on the front row who would like to ask a question or make a point. So what would you like to say?
So, obviously, this week, the government's obviously cut some benefits, whilst we're still putting refugees in hotels.
OK.
Migrating. So, why aren't we looking after our own?
OK. So go on, Barry. Look, you've got the opportunity to come back in now. I mean, the point I was making was that, yeah, you've got migrants in hotels, you've obviously got pensioners taking a hit, farmers taking a hit, this, that and the other.
Patrick, I watched your little skit, right? And it was inaccurate. And I have to tell you it was inaccurate because Keir Starmer can't sing as well as you do.
You had a whole break I was stewing, right? He was looking at me like, That was a joke.
Can I just say on the benefits, and this is serious, because, look, there's a lot of people in this country who are really worried at the moment.
Yeah.
Really worried. And, we'll see what eventually happens here. And Wednesday's obviously a big day, because that's the spring statement. But I think it's absolutely right that anybody who can work should work. I believe you have an obligation to work, and I believe it's not just an obligation, it is actually an opportunity. So what they're calling the right to try, that is, if you've got a long-term condition, then many people are worried at the moment about going back into work because they fear that if they do and they can't manage it once they're back in work, actually the benefits will be cut and they'll lose it all and go back to square one. And that's what stops people from doing it. So I think the right to try is right. But when it comes to the way in which the personal independence payments are going to be treated, I am worried that now that they're saying you have to have 4 points in any one of the categories, and I don't want to get into the technicalities about it, but there will be people, I think, who are seriously in need of that extra support, the personal independence payments, that should be getting the support that they're going to miss out.
The current social security system we have is failing. Barry's right, there are people who desperately need it. There are a number of people who don't need it and have gamed the system and are greedy and are claiming benefits that the people who do need it are no longer going to be able to receive. It's going to hurt, it's going to be painful for people in the immediacy, but in 25, 30 years' time, it's going to be a much better system for everyone.
Hang on a minute, because one of the points is really the only. Well, right, there's a microphone going about here, but anyway, one of the points I think is that there is a cohort of people at the moment in Britain who are definitely not having their benefits cut, and that is people who've just arrived here illegally, isn't it? You know? That is something that appears to be only increasing and only ever increasing. Do you not think that's a bit unfair, Susan?
Yes, I do. I mean, those of us that pay our taxes... I mean, if you go back to the benefit system, I genuinely think that people that are really disabled, that have really got problems, we do not pay them enough. We really need to look after those that really need it. But I suspect that every one of us knows people that play the system, and it's those people that have got to be stopped. The problem at the moment is so many people are waiting to see what's happening with PIP, to see whether they are going to lose money or not, and genuine people, and the worry to some of them is just shocking. So this has got to be dealt with quickly. Some of the aspects of it, I think, are a good idea.
We need to get more people in work, don't we? And I think...
Absolutely.
Do people here, just the usual kind of vocal expression of this, do you think there are too many people in Britain taking the mick when it comes to benefits? OK. So in that sense, then, do you think what Labour are doing about cutting benefits is the right thing? So what's the solution, then?
The right people that you are...
All right.
Taking it from.
Right, let's just give this... Well, yeah, go on. Well.
So I've got a friend, she's had a degenerative disease since birth. She's struggled all of her life. She's got very few family to depend on, and she relies on carers to bathe her, you know, get her up in the mornings, cook her meals and things, any transport. She does work part-time in a bank, and she's held that job for quite a few years. She's fiercely independent, but her main worry is the constant reviews from PIP and the people that review her. She's got a degenerative disease. She's never going to get better. Why does she have to constantly go through this, you know, worrying times and being questioned about whether she needs the help or not?
My understanding is that one of the things that we're proposing to change is precisely that, so that in those situations where it's a long-term degenerative condition, they won't have to have those constant reviews. So I think that is an improvement that can be made in the system, and I think it's one that we're making.
Sir?
Thank you. You talked about, you know, getting people into jobs, but what kind of jobs? We've outsourced everything. What jobs are there? There's no incentive for people to work. We see regularly people saying, you know, that they make more money on benefits than they do getting a real job. So that's great. We need to get more people into work. But what kind of jobs?
And that's a really fair point, in as much as what's the point, I think some people feel like, and I think it's wrong, but what's the point? Because you're taxed to such oblivion in this country that people feel like there's actually, they're better off if they don't work. What's so bizarre about this government? Do you remember when we had governments that actually had ideologies and strategies, whether you agreed with them or not. There was a Prime Minister by the name of Margaret Thatcher. You might have heard of her. And, you know, you might not have agreed with her, but you knew that she had actually had an ideology. Whereas these people are so bizarre. Like, they say there's no money, so they have to cut pensioners, but then they have massive public sector pay rises, but then they say that there's no money because of so they've got to put the VAT on private schools, but then they break their own fiscal rules so that they can increase public spending. It's so scattergun and bizarre. It is a good idea to look at the long-term unemployed, especially young people, especially those with mental health conditions, as to why they're not working. The problem I think we all have in here is that we've absolutely no faith that they won't make a complete pig's ear of it. And that's the problem.
OK. All right. OK. Look, we are out of time. I've got no doubt that Barry would vehemently disagree with a lot of that was said there, so I think that maybe gets me out of conference. Right. Coming up. Well, it risks bankrupting the economy. It could cause a 1970s-style energy crisis. So will hard-working Brits be forced to shoulder the burden of net zero madness? There was a damning report that came out yesterday. We're going to get stuck into the net zero lunacy next. Stay tuned, everybody.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Low pressure remains mostly in charge of Western Europe, bringing heavy showers and thunderstorms, bringing in a further risk of flooding. The odd shower across Madeira and Tenerife, but the bulk of the rain affecting Portugal and Spain, where already they have had most of the rain through the week. Still plenty of showers elsewhere across Europe, and mostly dry across parts of Greece, and remaining dry here with the best of the temperatures, but elsewhere still remaining largely showery, and this is limiting temperatures at around the mid to high teens.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just
political posturing.
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
This has been the best studio audience we've had so far. So get yourself down here next week if you watch or listening on radio. Anyway, the government's mad rush to net zero risks taking the UK back to 1970s style energy crisis. That's according to a leaked government report. It said it might knock 10% off GDP. It might help spark a global financial crash. It might crucially affect the poorest people in society the worst. So look, are we going to reverse this now? And frankly, how much longer can Ed Miliband have left? But there's a gentleman on the front row here with a microphone. So what would you like to say about net zero stuff?
Thanks, Patrick. Hopefully you had a good holiday and you managed to get back OK.
Survived, yes, survived.
Timing's everything. So I just wanted to say, obviously, net zero, it came out today that the backup generators for Heathrow Airport were fueled by biomass, and that was the reason why the backup failed. And that's obviously because of net zero. They had to do that and get rid of the diesel generators. Well, that's what the news is today. Obviously, that's all because of net zero. Closing our biggest airport in the country really doesn't help our GDP and makes us all poorer off. So do you think net zero, a question for that, is the reason for that?
So the report that came out yesterday or the day before now, I think it was basically that if we continue with our net zero targets to the extent that we are at the moment, we can have things like 10% off GDP. I mean, I don't know, just who here actually cares about climate change? People do. Barry obviously does, yeah. Do you care about it? Fine, but do you care about it enough to be willing to make yourself poorer?
No! But that's the point. Net zero is used as a stick to beat people with, rather than if people were incentivised, who doesn't want to be more environmentally friendly, have cleaner air, have less rubbish on our streets? Everyone wants that, I think. But the problem is they don't want to have regressive taxes which affect the poorest, like ultra-low emission zone, or all those sorts of things that make poorer people even poorer.
Barry.
Let's be clear what climate change would mean. It would actually mean a much worse global economy. And it would mean that because you would have desertification, you'd have increased floods and drought all across the world. We know that because it's already happening, right? That affects our food security. It affects every part of our economy, including refugees. I'm sorry, it does, because already we have climate refugees from areas that are becoming unlivable because of climate change. So if we accept we've got to do...
All right. He's getting a little bit of heckling here. People say, well, you don't have climate refugees in France, but yes.
If we accept that we've got to do something about climate change, then it is absolutely the case that this report, actually, it's been slightly twisted in the press. The report was actually about what happens if it's not done properly. What happens if we have what are called stranded assets? And that's showing that there's an economic fallout from that. But if that's why businesses are transitioning themselves, because they don't want stranded assets.
Well, there we go. I mean, it did also say that, to be honest with you, and I don't see how else this could be done properly, as it were, which is that the poorest people in society will be hit the worst. So if you have to change your car, or you have to do things around your home, or you do whatever, because people will say, well, the government will pay. Well, then we're all paying for that, aren't we? That's subsidies. But, Susan, absolutely. I mean,
The fossil fuel industry is subsidised more than any other industry in the world. It's over 500 billion perverse subsidies.
Let's bring Susan in, because you fell foul of Sadiq Khan's ULEZ, didn't you, really?
Well, I think the poorest in London fell foul of it. He's had a report out saying it's done wonderful things, but actually the base of the numbers they've got from the base are from before there was any ULEZ at all. And we all accept that the inner London ULEZ did work and people were happy about that. The outer London ULEZ expansion was utter nonsense, and the people that are paying for that are the poorest in society, and that is wrong, absolutely wrong.
OK. There's a gentleman on the front row here who would like to say something. Go on.
What is the government's obsession with net zero when they're increasing the national debt, making people poorer and the country poorer? And what future are they trying to map for generations to come?
OK. Does anyone on this side want to take a bit...
I don't work for the government.
No. How do you feel about it? This idea of increasing national debt to hit net zero?
Well, I mean, it's a really fair point, because if you increase national debt, you have to increase taxes in order to pay it off. Well, that's the government strategy. I'm someone who believes you should have lower taxes and incentivise people and drive an economy to grow. But the problem is we will all end up poorer if it keeps on this road. And also if you have, I think, politicians with... Unfortunately, and I think Sadiq Khan is an example of this, but there are others. I think there are Conservative politicians that have done this as well, actually, that use it as a means to tax people and restrict their freedoms rather than actually trying to solve problems.
OK. All right. Well... Oh, go on.
Well, no, I actually agree. I think there's a bubble in Westminster where everybody thinks it's great to have an electric car, where it's wonderful to have a heat pump. Although I talk to some people, and there's Green people on the Assembly, and I say, well, have you got heat pumps? Because they're screaming that everybody should have them. No, actually, they haven't. And I don't want an electric car, because I'd be worried about how far it would go.
Very quick, Barry.
The problems that Europe has had through the restriction in fossil fuels and the reliance on fossil fuels, oil and gas coming from Russia, have cost Europe hugely. The reason we haven't had that, well, you can say no, but if you don't have the facts against it, then no doesn't cut it, right? The point is, in this country, we only actually had a reliance for 3% of our energy on Russia, and the reason for that was because we had so many renewables.
OK, guys, look, the reason why we've got to go is because when we come back, we are going to be talking about the moment that everyone has been waiting for. It's Greatest Britain Union Jackass. This week's Greatest Britain Union Jackass, that move.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It has been a remarkably dry March so far across the UK, but it's all changed this weekend. Cloudier skies, spells of rain or showers moving through, and as a result, feeling significantly cooler. We've already seen the isobars tighten up across the UK ahead of this area of low pressure. That's increased the breeze as we've gone through the last couple of days. A mild breeze, but increasingly an unsettled one, with spells of rain moving north across the country. The most persistent wet weather overnight, northern England into Scotland and Northern Ireland, although even here there'll be some drier interludes. Further south, eventually turning drier, some clear spells, but with a lot of cloud and that breeze, it is going to be a mild start to Saturday, certainly a frost-free start, a marked contrast compared with the sunny but chilly mornings of the week so far. Now, we do start with plenty of dry weather across England and Wales, although showers couldn't be ruled out just about anywhere. I think West Wales, North West England seeing some sunshine early on. Otherwise, a lot of cloud blankets the UK. And we've got two areas of rain moving north, one affecting western Scotland and western parts of Northern Ireland, another one affecting eastern parts of Scotland, in between some showers. And really, it's a slow-moving situation as we go through the day. I think that for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we'll see further spells of rain or showers, the wettest weather likely for western Scotland, the far north and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, skies do brighten into the afternoon. There'll be some sunshine. Some places will get away with a dry afternoon, but there'll also be these slow-moving heavy downpours, particularly across central parts of the UK. Where we do get sunshine, 17, 18 Celsius possible, so still some warmth, but it is turning cooler gradually through the weekend. And after a gloomy start to Sunday with some mistiness around eastern coasts, it's going to be another day of sunny spells and some spells of rain or showers. The showers heaviest towards southern parts of England. And we keep the showers going into next week, but it's going to turn drier for many.
This is for many people the favourite part of the show and indeed a highlight of the week. It's time for Greatest Britain Union Jackass. We're going to start with the Greatest Britons. This is all about audience participation, of course. Barry, who's your Greatest Briton of the week, please?
This week, Oleg Gordievsky. our spy in Russia who died today because he actually was the person who avoided us moving into a third world war because of the secrets that he leaked to the UK and to the US, and he avoided because the Kremlin were getting paranoid and they were about to launch nuclear missiles. He told us all about it. People pulled back and we avoided a disaster. So Oleg Gordievsky died today in Britain, whom he served for a very long time.
OK, all right, well, it's a nice start. We're all still here to tell the tale. There was no white flash and then the radioactive waste. But anyway, so perhaps we owe this guy a thank you. There we go. Susan, who's your greatest Britain, please?
Right, so I've gone for Group Captain Paddy Hemingway, who was the last Battle of Britain pilot. 105. You all know the story. 105, and he died this week. And what a gentleman!
Yes.
So obviously that's going to be your favourite.
Wow.
I just know
Well,
it.
it might be. Actually, I do think every single time, and I hate to say this, but every single time you see a story like this, I just feel as though we've lost. It's a bit of Britain that's dying, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember on the day that our late Queen passed away, I was here, and I was just outside there actually, and it just felt like Britain changed forever that day, I think, didn't it? In a way that sadly I don't think we're ever going to get back. So yeah, strong choice for Greatest Britain. Now, who's yours, Christo?
Yeah, thanks for having me follow up. Because I've gone for Stephen Graham, the actor, because I think it's really important that the debate that's being had about men and about their role in society as a result of the drama Adolescence.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think, again, Stephen Graham, I must say, look, well, whatever people think about Adolescence, for me, I think he's a fantastic actor. I think the guy everything he touches is a success. His track record says that, and I think he's fantastic, really. But go on, JJ, who's your Greatest Britain, please?
England manager Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, he won tonight, obviously, fantastic. And he told the truth about Gareth Southgate. He said, when asked about Southgate, he said it was rubbish. England were rubbish under Southgate. We didn't win anything. We played like we didn't want to lose, but we didn't play to win.
Say that again. I didn't realise. So he slagged Southgate off.
Yeah, he's honest and straight to the point. That's what we need more of, honesty.
Well, but how do you feel about the fact that he's not singing the national anthem?
He hummed it. He's humming the national anthem. Yeah,
and also, didn't he say he wasn't going to sing it because he wanted to earn the right to sing it?
He wanted to earn the right.
Which I quite liked.
How do you... OK, so, no, seriously, we're joking a bit here, but how do you feel about England having a German manager? All right with it? OK.
Wow.
There we go. Right, OK, so let's get to the vote, everybody. So Barry Gardner's the tremendous Russian spy. Anyone?
British spy.
British spy, yes. Yes, anyone? All right. This is all done off noise levels, by the way. So anyway, John Hemingway, who passed away. I think we know, don't we? Should we go over Stephen Graham? Anyone? Stephen Graham? Good. And Thomas Tuchel. OK.
Once again, you influenced it by doing a whole monologue about how great Ruined it.
OK, well, there we go. John Hemingway says vote is Britain, everybody. Union Jackass, please.
OK, so it's the Surrey Police, because they put out a nice little message, a warning to people about a woman who is wanted. Description, 49, her name's Skylar Stone, white, brown hair, blue-green eyes, has links to Guildford. And then the picture pops up.
Can everyone see the picture?
And I thought, Skylar does not look exactly like the description that was put there. It was pointed out to everyone that Skylar's trans, Skylar's a man. So this just proves to me that Surrey Police don't really care about women. They care about being all woke and all...
That is an incredibly strong start, I think, actually. I am at pains to say that now apparently Surrey Police have said they've amended the description, but they didn't do it the first time, did they? There we go. Go on, Christo, who's your Union Jackass, please?
OK, so, yes, we've just been hearing about how it might make us poorer. It's going to give a knife edge as to whether net zero is going to be a success or a complete failure for Britain, and so it is all going to be in the hands of this man, Ed Miliband. So That's my Union Jackass because, of course, you know, we've got the problems. And that is actually my dad selling him the bacon sandwich.
Can we get that picture? Let's get that picture back up if we can. So, Christys, just say this to me again. So, you know Ed Miliband's infamous bacon sandwich moment?
That's my dad. My dad sold him the bacon sandwich. So my dad stopped Ed Miliband becoming Prime Minister. Well done, Dad.
Susan, who's your Union Jackass, please?
Right, well, mine is Mike Amesbury, former Labour MP, the one that punched his constituent, which is never a good idea. And he's given up this week nearly 8 years of being an MP. And I have to tell you, when you're a politician, the pride, the joy of being an MP, it must be incredible. So what a fool. What an absolute fool to do that.
All right. Barry, who's your Union Jackass, please?
Alistair Orcock. the head of infrastructure and project management at Heathrow Airport.
I think that speaks for itself. OK. So, JJ suggestion, anybody? Anyone?
Sorry, police.
Sorry, police, the old trans scandal. Christo was Ed Miliband. We've gone for Mike Amesbury. I am Mike Amesbury. The head of infrastructure at Heathrow Airport. It's another. JJ is absolutely outrageous. We never.
Yeah. Never win.
The head of infrastructure.
Had a good one this week.
There we go. Well, thank you very much. I'm just getting it in my ear. We've got to take JJ's mic out. I think he might actually be quite angry. Anyway, look what you've done. There's always next week. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Please do, if you'd like to look at this thing, you must obviously be mental. But if you do want to come down, please do go to sro.co.uk and get some tickets. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It has been a remarkably dry March so far across the UK, but it's all changed this weekend. Cloudier skies, spells of rain or showers moving through, and as a result, feeling significantly cooler. We've already seen the isobars tighten up across the UK ahead of this area of low pressure. That's increased the breeze as we've gone through the last couple of days. A mild breeze, but increasingly an unsettled one, with spells of rain moving north across the country. The most persistent wet weather overnight, northern England into Scotland and Northern Ireland, although even here there'll be some drier interludes. Further south, eventually turning drier, some clear spells, but with a lot of cloud and that breeze, it is going to be a mild start to Saturday, certainly a frost-free start, a marked contrast compared with the sunny but chilly mornings of the week so far. Now, we do start with plenty of dry weather across England and Wales, although showers couldn't be ruled out just about anywhere. I think West Wales, North West England seeing some sunshine early on. Otherwise, a lot of cloud blankets the UK. And we've got two areas of rain moving north, one affecting western Scotland and western parts of Northern Ireland, another one affecting eastern parts of Scotland, in between some showers. And really, it's a slow-moving situation as we go through the day. I think that for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we'll see further spells of rain or showers, the wettest weather likely for western Scotland, the far north and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, skies do brighten into the afternoon. There'll be some sunshine. Some places will get away with a dry afternoon, but there'll also be these slow-moving heavy downpours, particularly across central parts of the UK. Where we do get sunshine, 17, 18 Celsius possible, so still some warmth, but it is turning cooler gradually through the weekend. And after a gloomy start to Sunday with some mistiness around eastern coasts, it's going to be another day of sunny spells and some spells of rain or showers. The showers heaviest towards southern parts of England. And we keep the showers going into next week, but it's going to turn drier for many.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What's the inspiration? How does it feel?
Well, I mean, this is a very personal story because I was in a relationship that had come to an end, and you know, when you're like, let's just have that meeting, that one last chat to put, you know, all our differences aside. And I was expecting to meet for a chat, and when I opened the front door, his key was on the mat. Like, he'd literally come and done a flit, got his stuff and left.
Done a runner?
Yeah, didn't want to face me.
So you never got that kind of closure?
I never got the closure. I felt sick. I got like this gut punch. I ran to the fridge. I poured a big glass of wine and cried a lot. And that's kind of how the song came about. I wanted to create a song with my co-writer, Paul Fisser, like that really made people feel how I felt at the time. And I think we did that with this one.
Do you take a lot of inspiration from kind of your own past life experiences then when you're writing?
I do now. I mean, with Atomic Kitten, I spent 20+ years singing somebody else's lyrics.
Right.
So for me to write my own stories and my own life lessons and sing about it, it just hits differently, and it's quite cathartic and
freeing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's a bit like therapy.
I was going to ask about that, with the difference between being in a band for so long and now going on a solo career. So that's really interesting. Obviously, you're singing other people's songs. So do you sort of feel like as a band for hire, or do you know what I mean? You turn up and sort of sing the songs that someone else created for you. Is
not
that
really. I mean,
not the wrong way of putting it? Do you know what I mean? But this is now much more personal.
There's an emotional connection to your own
That's what I mean. Yeah.
lyrics.